Welcome to Behind the Campaign, the podcast where marketers pull back the curtain on their best campaigns. I'm here today with Jen Byers. She is the owner of Byers and Beyond Marketing. Hello, Jen.
Hi, Andy. How are you today?
I am great. We're going to talk today about a theater company and a campaign that you did for them. You want to tell us a little bit about Attic Theater, and we can go from there.
Sure. So, I am actually a recent transplant to Indianapolis. Before I moved here about a year ago, I lived in Oshkosh, Wisconsin, which is right next to Appleton. And I worked with Attic Theater, which is a community theater based in Appleton, Wisconsin. They have been around for 75 years. Our little claim to fame is Willem Dafoe, the actor who was in Spider-Man, Aquaman, those movies. He actually got his start acting with Attic Theater back when he was growing up.
That's very cool. That's a nice claim to fame to have. So tell us a little bit about this campaign that we're going to be talking about today. How did it get started?
All right. So the campaign I wanted to talk about was what the theater did for National Volunteer Month back in April of 2024. So the theater has always been the foundation built specifically on volunteers, whether it's volunteer actors, volunteer front of house staff, even board members are volunteers too. However, they haven't done a specific campaign before, highlighting just the different roles of volunteers or promoting what it's like to be a volunteer with a community theater. So during my time there, not only was I on the board of directors, I was also in charge of their marketing. So I really wanted to, I say promote volunteers, but also advocate for them to say why they're important, why we're looking for more volunteers, and show the importance of just volunteering in a community for something that you love.
Great. So how did the brainstorming process for this campaign go? Did you get together with your team and the team from Attic Theater? How did that all come together?
Sure. So I collaborated with the president of Attic Theater, just to get some ideas of some volunteers that we thought we should highlight. From there, wanted to pick different volunteers based on what their areas of expertise was, as well as just different demographics as well. So one set of volunteers I interviewed, they were a married couple that were retired. One of them acted on stage and did stuff for front of house staff, and then the other one with box office items, everyday administrative tasks. I also selected a volunteer who was an empty nester, and he recently got back into acting after COVID. So he really dove in headfirst with doing everything for this theater, as well as wanting to learn more, not just with acting. And then I also picked a young mother who is a millennial. She was a stay-at-home mom, but she is primarily known for her acting roles around the community, as well as helping with selecting plays that we do each season.
Very nice. So I noticed that Attic Theater is really active on social media. How did that play into the development of this campaign, and how did you weave social media into that?
Sure. So part of it was we actually didn't have access to our Instagram account for a little while. I think with how often we were transitioning between board members and volunteers, the login credentials for Instagram just got lost in transition. So I was able to recover our Instagram account. That was one part of the campaign. But with their social media and even with their email marketing too, a lot of what they did in the past was put every bit of information to the post or the email and not encourage anyone to redirect to the website, not really encourage a call to action. So with the social media, and this was part of like a long-term goal, was I wanted to create more content outside of our actual performing season and encourage people to visit our website for more information, stay on the website to learn more about this, engage with us, and then do some sort of action on our website, whether it's sign up to be a volunteer, purchase tickets, or sign up to audition for a future show.
Did you have any challenges with this campaign or anything that you ran into that you're like, "Oh, I'm not sure how we're going to, get around this barrier?"
Um, One challenge we did have was connecting everything with Google Analytics 4. So the ticketing platform that we use to sell our tickets, it doesn't play nicely with GA4. So we weren't able to attribute revenue to National Volunteer Month to see if we saw a spike in tickets. However, we did have to rely on just word of mouth from box office staff if they notice influxes. And then we also noticed an increase in volunteers as well, just trusting that um, the work that we were doing was in relation to the good numbers we were seeing for ticket sales as well as volunteers signing up too.
Great. So, what were some of the results of this campaign? Did you achieve the goals that you set out to achieve at the beginning?
For some of the goals we had, a lot of it was more brand awareness and also encouraging our company to post more on social media outside of when we had performances. So with that, I was working on their marketing stuff long term as well that tied into this campaign. But after this campaign, we did see a spike in traffic. Think our website traffic increased by around 150% year over year. And a lot of it was encouraging people read what you see on social media in the email, but we want you, if you want more information or you need to sign up with us or purchase a ticket from us, you need to go to our website. So encouraging people to go to the website first was just the overall goal, which I was very happy with those results. And then with our email marketing, we were really working towards sending more emails again during the off season, as well as not making them essentially like a huge novel to read, to make it a little more scannable. So we were able to do that with the email. We were able to increase uh, overall opens by 80% year over year. We were utilizing MailChimp, and then clicks within the email, and then redirecting to other places that increased by 60% year over year.
Sounds like some really good results. Were you happy with it?
I was very happy with it. Right before their so this is all for their 74th season. Right before their season started, I did find out I was gonna move to Indianapolis, so I wasn't able to see everything through during the actual season. But from what I heard from the president of Attic Theater, as well as who was working with marketing after I left, they did see one of the most successful seasons, several years, and having some of the marketing numbers to attribute to that was gonna be very helpful in the long term.
Great. Since this was a campaign about volunteers and you were actually highlighting those volunteers in your marketing, what was the reaction from those volunteers? Were they excited to be part of it? Did they help spread the word about this campaign? How did that go?
Yeah, they were very excited to be considered for this opportunity. They were very prompt when I asked them for their responses. They were just very eager to share their own stories. And as soon as their stories came out, they were more than happy to share everything on social media to highlight not only their own work, the relationship they had with the theater, but also show how much of a community impact it had.
I think it's interesting. You mentioned that you chose people with kind of different backgrounds and different roles within the theater company. How did you decide which people and which roles you were going to choose to highlight?
The one thing I specifically wanted to highlight was with actors, because a lot of people don't realize with community theater productions that actors do not get paid or get compensated whatsoever. It's all volunteer. So without the actors, we wouldn't have a production. And that's not saying that any other role is more or less important. It's most people who go to a community theater performance, they go to see actors performing on stage with the help and assistance from other people working behind the scenes to make the theater magic happen.
About how many volunteers does Attic Theater have? Do you know approximately?
Maybe 100 or so, and it can also change during each production too, where we did one play last year that only had 6 roles in it. And they were all I think 5 of those 6 roles were female-specific roles, 1 was male, and then they actually just did a production called Kiss Me Kate, which is a musical, and I think that was the cast size was around 15 or 20, so it was one of their larger productions, so the volunteer numbers can kinda shift depending on what they decide to perform for a play or musical each year.
And then obviously you have, like you said, the ticket takers and probably, people who are seating people during the productions and people who are creating the stage and all of that, all of the, backgrounds and things like that. So that's, a lot of a diverse group of people that you had to choose from. Did you have any kind of parameters that you were using to go by when you decided who you were going to highlight?
I wanted people who are involved in the theater, ideally with one or more aspects, not just acting or not just behind the scenes this. I wanted them to show that you can volunteer in different areas of the theater. You don't have to, as some people would say, you don't have to stay in your own lane. You can go into different lanes if you're really interested in doing all of this other stuff.
Is this something that you think the theater will company will continue to do during National Volunteer Month? And is this kind of structured marketing campaign something that they will continue to do? Is there anything coming up that they're going to be working on?
So they just wrapped up their 75th season, so they should be starting promotion for the 76th season soon. A lot of it depends on the availability of the venues where they perform. I say venues because unfortunately, after I left and after their 74th season, the theater they were renting the space from, it was part of a college and the college decided to close down. So that space was in limbo. But for this season, they rented a high school for their venue, for their performances. So I think some of it would depend on what's available for their spaces and the timing of their shows too. Because I know with some theaters, they're very strict with, okay, we can always perform these weeks in May, these weeks in June, something like that. It's a little more sporadic with Attic Theater, not necessarily in a bad way, it just depends on what's available at the venue because they're searching for a little more permanent home. Everything's still kind of up in the air.
Great. We often think about marketing, we think about big companies and big teams. Obviously, this is a little company and you have your business. Were you doing all the writing? Did you have graphic designers? When it came to creating the content, how did that work with you and the team at Attic?
Sure. So we also had another set of volunteers. During the actual season, we do hire a social media freelancer to help with posting content on social media. So this person was responsible for posting the organic content on social media, specifically for Facebook and Instagram, and they would also do social media ads as well. Otherwise, for marketing, again, before I left to move to Indianapolis, I was in charge of marketing efforts, writing. I helped with graphic creation, content creation, anything I could do. I was a big fan of utilizing Canva because I did not have the luxury of affording an Adobe subscription. So Canva was really nice to help create everything and still have it be relatively affordable.
Yeah, I think that's something, to think about too is when we think about smaller teams and maybe smaller companies, we're used to hearing these big software, big tech names that people utilize, but you mentioned MailChimp earlier, GA4 obviously, free to use, but Canva and some of those others. Were there any other pieces of technology that you still use or used with Attic that maybe, weren't some of these big names, but that you really just loved using for your marketing efforts?
Even though it's a big name, I feel like a lot of people don't know about the free tools that Google offers for nonprofits. So I was able to get us registered for the Google Ads grant. With that, we were able to utilize search campaigns with promoting our website as long as the website was up to date. So that was very helpful for encouraging people to volunteer for the organization, learn more about Attic Theater, and even though we couldn't directly attribute revenue to the specific channel, it did help us with ticket sales for our productions.
Yeah, that's a great point. Google Grants, for those who don't know, are available from Google to help with small nonprofits to help with their marketing efforts. And so I think that's a great thing that maybe some nonprofits don't know about, but it's available. And there's, I think it's not a huge application process, but something that they can take advantage of if they do have a small marketing budget and want to do something maybe a little bit different that might cost a little bit more. And they can utilize those Google resources to do that, Google paid ads or whatever to help in their marketing efforts.
I will say Google also offers different tools like Gmail, the Google Drive system, Google Docs. Normally, if you wanted to have your own domain at like the end of an email, but still use Google, you would have to pay for it. But if you're a nonprofit, you apply for it, Google can give you those resources for free, as long as you prove that you're a nonprofit.
Right. That's great. Great to hear. So, we've talked a little bit about social media. Did you get some good traction with people commenting? How did the general public feel about this campaign? Were they I'm assuming people who are close to the theater had some fun reactions. to seeing the people that they actually see, maybe, kind of when they go to the theater, actually seeing them highlighted in this campaign.
Yeah, they were very excited seeing people that they know, being highlighted on our company Facebook page and seeing posts specifically about them. I know what helped too with 2 of the volunteers I selected, they were actually cast in roles for the coming season that was gonna happen a couple months after National Volunteer Month, so having them be featured, it wasn't intentional, but they just happened to be cast in those shows, so that kinda helped with boosting sales too, with learning a little bit more about, like, one of the actors that's actually going to be in the productions.
That's great. Do you think that the kind of this idea of highlighting individuals within the company, within the theater company, will be something that they try again?
Hope so. I know they have a different marketing team, different goals that they're trying to work towards. Not knowing what's going to happen with their venue next year is going to be affecting a lot of things too. But I know the marketing team is in good hands and they did a great job with this 75th season with such a big milestone.
Wonderful. Anything else you want to share with us about this campaign? It sounds like it was, really fun. You got some great results, it sounds like. Anything else that we should know, either, marketers who are listening who might be in this situation where they have a small team working with a smaller organization, and maybe how you got things done?
So for anyone that has a small marketing team, I would recommend just learning how to take charge yourself because sometimes stuff will not be done for you unless you advocate for yourself and for your ideas. I know with this campaign, it's always something I wanted to do with other theater companies that I've worked with. I just either didn't have the bandwidth, I didn't have the authorization, or other people were planning other stuff at the same time. But I really wanted to highlight this during this particular time of year when we were waiting for the new season to start and show the importance of volunteers in such a small space.
Are you going to be on the stage anytime soon? Are you an actor type?
No, I am actually not an actor. I specialize in stage management, so essentially that's like a project manager slash soccer mom. And then I also do prop design, so anything that an actor would hold or interact with, potentially sit on, I would be in charge of figuring out how to incorporate that on the stage, whether it's renting it, borrowing it, creating it, or, fu like, making a bargain with someone to make sure we can still get it at an affordable price.
Bartering a little bit. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. And then I've also done stuff behind the scenes with operating like the lighting board, helping with quick changes that happen behind the scenes, and also with calling shows too. So whenever you see light changes or scenery moving, I would help make sure that gets facilitated without the audience realizing that someone's telling them to do that.
That's great. You're like a Jack or a Jill of all trades. You kind of do a lot of different things.
So for one instance where I was an assistant stage manager, not the primary stage manager, but I was working on a production and the running gag of the show was that one of the characters would always come on stage with a Twinkie, like he was eating a Twinkie, and I don't blame him. They got very disgusting after a while, so whenever he would come off stage, he would have to spit it out in a trash can because he couldn't finish it. Well, I was a little late to grab the trash can, my hand sticking out, and I don't he didn't realize it either, but he ended up spitting the chewed up Twinkie in my hand, and I'm just sitting there for a couple seconds, like, deadpanning, like, "Did this actually happen? Did he actually spit food in, like, my hand?"
Oh, that's so fun. Part marketer and part, stagehand, we'll call
Yes.
it.
Trash receptacle, apparently.
Marketers can do it all, let me tell you.
I will say I also had to help an actor wrap his ankle during rehearsals one time because he, like it was like a minor twist, but it was still significant enough that I couldn't do much. But I learned how to actually wrap my ankle from when I played volleyball in high school. So I was like, "I know how to do this. I'll just do it on your ankle instead of mine."
That's funny because on previous podcast episodes, we've had instances where people have had to do some unusual things. The marketing team have had to do some unusual things that, aren't in the typical marketing job description, but you just do what you got to do when you're, at a photo shoot or a video shoot, or you're at an event and you're part of the marketing team. You may have to do something that you've never been asked to do. So I think it's a nod to how versatile marketers can be. when, we're working with it doesn't even necessarily need to be a small team or a small production. Sometimes in big productions, things happen and you need to step in. So that's fun.
As they say, the show must go on.
The show must go on. And with that, I will say thank you so much, Jen, for joining me today. And if you're in the Kenosha, Wisconsin, is that the right area? Kenosha, Wisconsin?
It's in Wisconsin.
Appleton, Wisconsin area. Make sure you go check out Attic Theater. And maybe Jen will come back and tell us about her latest campaign and her latest work, maybe with the theater company here in Indianapolis. We'll see.
All right. Thank you so much.
Thanks.